And delighted to join you today. So thank you for the invite. And if we can turn immediately to the slides, Rob. So already been introduced, and what I would like to talk about is how the business community can work with neighbourhoods and the public sector to drive transformatory change. So first slide, for those that don't know where we are, we're not in Wales, we're not at the absolute extremity of England, we're absolutely at the heart of the UK in Cumbria. And I want to give a bit of context because this is very much about constrained economic opportunity. And I would argue that Cumbria has got plenty of economic opportunity, but what we need to see is our communities accessing that. So moving on. Next slide, Rob, please. The shape of Cumbria's economy. I've talked about opportunity. Cumbria has almost 25% of its overall economic value from advanced manufacturing. So this is an economy with lots of opportunity. Moving to the next slide. And if we look at the areas where we do have our genuine left behind areas, they are Allerdale, Barrow and Copeland. And what you will see there is these are areas of advanced manufacturing predominantly. The other two, agriculture, accommodation and food, are other sectors in which we have higher levels of concentration. To the next slide, please. And for me, not using all of our individuals' skills, talents, and the things that they bring to our economy in Cumbria doesn't make any kind of business sense. We've got the slowest growing economy in the slowest growing population in the country. And if we go ahead just over 10 years, we will have 20,000 too few people to deliver the jobs we've already got. So left behind communities, talent and people is absolutely not business sense for us. Moving forward, Rob. Clearly COVID has had a significant impact on both economic and employment growth. So what we're going to see is constrained opportunities. And if you look at the purple lines, that shows that our employment growth forecasts have reduced significantly. So we're going to see more competition for jobs, and that means we've really got to double down on our efforts to make sure that nobody is left behind. Moving on. I think the thing that I would stress in Cumbria is we've actually fared much better than the national average. So our unemployment rate is 4.3% currently, compared with nationally 6.3%. And what you'll see is the change in October in Cumbria at 2% increase is way less than national at 3.3%. The other thing that I would draw people's attention to is the areas in which these left behind neighbourhoods sit have actually had less of an increase than other areas. So that's again Allerdale, Barrow and Copeland. Moving to the next slide. But when we look at the comparative position of left behind places, the ones that featured in the report, there is an absolutely stark difference in both unemployment and universal credit levels. So with everything that I've already said, that just doesn't make any sense at all in terms of our economic growth objectives. Moving on. So I want to turn now to what business can do to help. And the thing that's really fascinating about our left behind neighbourhoods, they sit cheek by jowl with some of the biggest employers, the best paying employers, with the significantly advanced and higher level employment opportunities. So I'm going to choose one of our businesses that's publicly sector funded. It has delivered year on year a significant social impact programme, 10 million per annum in a very small geography. There has been no shortage of leadership commitment, programme or activity. However, when we look at the stats, this is an area with the third highest weekly wages in the country, it has got more workless families than the national average. So what's not working? And moving forward to the next slide, what I feel we need is a different approach. I think for me, it's very much moving from one that's about corporate social responsibility into one that's about very much social value. And it's starting with the business benefits. It's got to be good for the business rather than something that has to be done. And for me, the more diverse our workforce, then the better performing a workforce becomes. So moving it out of a thing that has to be done into something that we absolutely want to do because it moves our business forward. We need to see it, rather than being something that's separate and siloed in business, as being mainstreamed throughout all of activities. How do we procure our goods and services? How do we actually bring forward skills and talent? What do we do in our investment policies and innovation? It's also got to be evidence-led, and it needs to recognise existing activity. My concern with lots of CSR activity, whilst it's extremely well-meaning, it really delivers on some of its objectives. It's frequently developed in parallel to what's already happening, rather than supplementing and supporting. Clearly, there is a real opportunity to drive through the supply chain. How do we create that broader reach by bringing all of our partners on board? And clearly, if we're doing any kind of significant investment through our businesses into our communities, we've really got to evaluate the impact and refine the approach on an ongoing basis. So, simple question, we've spent over the past decade, for example, 100 million. What has that done for those communities, and how has it really changed things? And for my final slide, please, Rob, I'm using the term CSR asks loosely, and this is very much about the kind of framework that I feel it will be really important if we want to drive significant change going forward. I think there really is something about top-down pressure from government. We've already seen through the pandemic the power of the Cabinet Office's public procurement notice. That really did retain supply chain in those organisations that were funded by the public purse. How do we press and make those things go further? I think we've got to very much be about evidential investments. We know what the issues are, develop the response to these. For me, we've got to be looking at localised, area-based strategies rather than nationally determined programmes. In terms of the sort of constant solution to a particular problem that is happening, and probably is happening more than it has previously, we end up with things that aren't sufficiently well targeted to address the needs in local areas. And also for me, strategy's got to be made at the right level for the issue. And that is about regional determination, but local delivery. Clearly, co-production works better. It secures buy-in and it responds to the real issues as opposed to the issues that are assumed at a distance. A really big thing that we need to see if we want to deliver change is multi-annual settlements with a far better mix of revenue and capital. Capital investments don't necessarily change people's lives. And my final point, Diana, is the Shared Prosperity Fund, much heard of, yet to be seen. And for me, if we're looking at delivering locally based solutions to address some of the challenges, that is a really important tool that we need to see.